Hello and welcome to the Nursing Mother's Room. I am your host, Regina, and I am so glad you're here. Today in the Nursing Mother's Room, I have with me Dr. Morgan of Alpha and Omega Chiropractor. She specializes in the Webster technique and specializes with pregnant moms and postpartum moms and kids of all ages. So I have been going to Dr. Morgan now for almost
it's been over 2 years.
Over 2 years?
Yeah.
So I've been seeing Dr. Morgan and Dr. Hannah at Alpha and Omega, and they are amazing. I've been seeing them for both of my pregnancies, and I'm sure some of you have heard me talk about them and seen them on Instagram and TikTok. And so I am so thankful to have Dr. Morgan here with me to sit and talk more about what she does and also her journey into motherhood and just different things that she's gone through. And I'm very excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, let's kind of jump into your work, because I know that before I even contacted you guys, because I think I was about 15 weeks pregnant with RJ when I came to you. And a little backstory, I was in a car accident and was already planning on going to the chiropractor, but after we got into a little car accident, my back started hurting me way more. My hip started hurting me like a million times worse, and I was like, I need to go and see a chiropractor. And I came in and we started doing scans and started seeing that I was having issues right where we had, where I was impacted in the car accident. And it's just been wild just to see all the different things, and even just knowing that I could come in as a pregnant woman to a chiropractor was kind of wild, because I think there are a lot of people, and I've even seen some stuff lately, which we'll talk about in a little bit, of people not fully understanding what chiropractors do, or just thinking, they see one video of somebody just getting their whole body cracked, and they think, oh yeah, that's a chiropractor. Or, some people have gone to chiropractors who weren't as great with what they did, and so, so kind of just, if you can kind of share with us your journey into becoming a chiropractor.
Yeah, so it's a fun journey. I actually didn't get adjusted until I was in high school. I don't even think that there was a chiropractor in my hometown. My hometown is 13,000 people. It's really small. There's a chiropractor now. If anybody is from there, you go see them, because I think there's one. That's great. But I was playing club volleyball, and one of my close friends on my team, the team was based in Lubbock, which was 30 minutes from my hometown. Her dad was a chiropractor. And so I was staying the night with her after a tournament, and I went and just asked him, I was like, hey, I have a headache. Give me some Advil, please. Can I have that's just what I was used to. I didn't take it all the time, but I had a headache, and so that's what I knew. And he was funny. He was like, I don't think he had it. So I don't think he had it in his home. So I think he was just like, well, how about I adjust you, and then if it doesn't go away, I'll give you some. I was like, whatever, man, I'm gonna end up needing it later, but sure, do what you need to do. So that was my first adjustment, and lo and behold, it went away immediately. I didn't even think about it again. That's awesome. And so that was my first adjustment. And then I was going through college. I knew I wanted to be in the health and wellness field. I had always felt like I was very called to that. I was this 6-year-old that wanted to be a neurosurgeon, because that's what my grandpa was. And so I was just trying to kind of figure out what my path was. And my dad was like, hey, why don't you just go shadow the chiropractor in Lubbock, and I know he'd love to see you. And so I did. I loved it. My dad was like, I think you'd be a really good chiropractor, which was so sweet. And I just thought, Lord, I'm going to apply, reject it if it's not the right thing. And I got applied so fast. I found out later that was not the normal. Wow. That the application process, it just takes some time to process it, but I got my acceptance, I feel like it was the same week that I applied. And So that is how I ended up going to chiropractic school. Obviously, I got more plugged in kind of as I was being introduced to the world. I thought I wanted to be a sports chiropractor because that's kind of my introduction, was just through sports. And then through like shadowing different offices and mentors and stuff like that, I got to be introduced to more chiropractors who are specializing in like women's health and pediatric and prenatal care. And I saw how that really not only like changed the person who was getting adjusted, but it could really change like the health and the trajectory of a family. And like impacting mom impacts everybody in the home. And I fell in love with that, and I thought, like, why in the world would I not want to do that? So yeah, that's kind of a long story long, or a long story short.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah,
I think that that's amazing. And it's so funny because even like growing up, I just always thought, like, you know, if you have a bad back or you have something, that's when you go to a chiropractor. You know, it's like you don't think that like you can go in and even just get adjusted for your sinuses and help clear that, or just so many different areas. And so when I started going to see you guys, I saw it as such a blessing, because I'm like, I'm in pain. You know what I mean? I'm like, everything is changing. All my organs are moving all over the place. You know, my body's all over the place. And being able to just come in and kind of have some relief from all of that has been great. And I know that there are, like, I've even had the conversation with my husband, because he used to go to a chiropractor for sports and stuff too when he was in like high school and stuff. But he was like, there's so many people that, like, even still to this day, like, they've been going to the chiropractor for like 30 years, you know? And he's like, it's just like wild to me that he's like, you know, you just like, people just continue to go. And I think there's the misconception that like going to a chiropractor is just gonna like fix everything. You know what I mean? Like, you go get adjusted, you get your back cracked a couple times, and then like you're good to go, you know? And so I think for some people there are, you know, long-term things that they have to like deal with, and they always have to come in and get adjusted. But I also do believe, and I've felt it and I've seen it, that, you know, there are people who, you know, have something or need a few adjustments, or need, you know, just for the time being, or need just, you know, just like a temporary, you know, time of going to the chiropractor.
Yeah. So we hear it a lot in our office, like, as a hesitation of like, if I go to the chiropractor, am I going to have to come see you for the rest of my life? And I'm like, well, I love you. I don't know if I need to see you for the rest of your life. And it's one of those things that's like, it's up to you. Like, a lot of people are coming in because they're in pain, right? That's just like your introduction. Most of the time we're the last resort. People have tried everything else, and they're like, I guess I'll give this a try because nothing else has helped me and I'm kind of desperate. And if we can remove that pain and help people get back to their quality of life, get back to work, get back to the gym, get back to being able to pick up their kid, and that is where they want to leave it, that's fine. That's beautiful. Like, what a gift to get to have that and get back to feeling at like your baseline. But also, we typically see people say like, okay, well, like, I'm sleeping better. Am I supposed to be sleeping better? Or I haven't been sick as often, or my kids had strep throat 6 times last year and they haven't had it this year, and we've been getting adjusted. So seeing like those kind of changes as well. And so people choosing to come for longer term and like more of that like wellness care. But there is still such a beauty in like, hey, I'm in a ton of pain when I'm pregnant. This is going to be a long 9/10 months, long postpartum. If I can't even like move, can I come during this period of time? And that's beautiful, and that's totally fine. So there's tons of misconceptions about chiropractic.
Well, and that's why I'm glad that we're able to sit and have this conversation, because even like just understanding that like there's a whole wellness side of it. It doesn't need to be necessarily something wrong, you know? And so that's where I think that the conversation needs to start shifting in, you know, just the whole idea of going to a chiropractor in general. Because even, you know, when I was pregnant, you know, my family's like, oh yeah, like we understand like your back, you know, car accident, all this stuff. But then when I was telling them that, you know, we were bringing RJ and he was like 2 weeks old, my mom was like, is that safe? Is that okay? And I'm like, Mom, they're not just gonna take him and like crack his neck, you know what I mean? They're gonna like adjust him, they're gonna, you know. And I'm like, and that's the thing, is like, I think everybody just thinks like movies or, you know, just stuff that they've seen or crazy videos. And so it just cracks me up because when we started bringing RJ, you know, my whole thing at that point was, you know, he was just born. He was like all cramped, you know, all inside my belly. Now he's like out and he, you know, starts stretching out and stuff. But I've seen so many videos and people talk about the babies that like, especially when they're born vaginally, that, you know, there can be things that are, you know, they're being pulled, they're being yanked. You know, the doctor for me, I ended up having a 2nd-degree tear because the doctor just kind of went in and just yanked him out at that point. You know, his head and his shoulders kind of started coming out and they just pulled him out. And so thankfully, like, he was okay. The doctor wasn't rough with him and stuff. But even just with that, like, you have a tiny little baby who's been all cramped up. You start stretching him out a bit. You know what I mean? There's going to be probably some things that need to be adjusted. And so even when we were bringing him, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're bringing your baby and stuff, you know? And so I just like, I crack up from it because I'm like, you literally have like no idea, you know what I mean? And so that's why I'm so thankful that even like having, you know, social media and being able to like see literally what happens during an appointment. Yeah. You know, because some people, it's like, you can't debate this like idea of it. Like we're literally showing you what's going on, you know? So
totally. I all the time, people are like, why are babies getting adjusted? You know, they think, are you going to pop their neck? Like, are you going to pop and crack my 2-week-old? Yeah. And the answer is always no.
Yeah. Literally.
Just, it's no. Yep. Especially in our office. And so, yeah, we hear that all the time. And I joke with people, I'm like, imagine being completely content. Like, you're warm, you're fed, you're cozy, you don't have to do anything. You just live. And then one day you, in a split second, you go from darkness, completely content with life, not having to do anything for yourself, and then bright lights, people all around you. Like, there's just a lot of stimulation with that. At just a baseline, even if birth is perfect and beautiful and like there's no extra factors to that, which we know is like really rarely the case, right? Just because birth is an event, right? For sure. And it's transformational and it can be traumatizing, even if it's like brings you a blessing, right? And it can be the same thing for them too. Sometimes it's just like, it's what has to happen. The doctor has to use extra force to get baby out. And that's not that they're doing anything wrong, but we can't ignore the fact that it is trauma to like the head and the neck. We would never, ever like hold a baby by their head 2 days, a week, 2 weeks after they're born. And that's essentially kind of what happens when we're doing that pulling motion. And so it's okay. That's what had to happen, right? And it brought you the greatest blessing ever. But like, let's just go ahead and address that quickly. And so it's not like 10, 15 years down the road. And we're like, why are we seeing like asymmetry and muscular tone and different things like that? Or even if it's not 10 or 15 years and it's a year or 2 years and they have torticollis or something like that. And we're having to do really consistent appointments and those kind of things because now it's impacting function for them as they're growing and developing. So yeah, we love to see babies in our office. I feel like it brings like the most questions. People are starting to understand like prenatal chiropractic care, which is really cool. I feel like when I was in school, I got to see that's like right when it started to change and kind of transform, where it's more people are understanding like the benefit of that. And then I think now we're hopefully kind of getting to that point where more people are starting to understand pediatric chiropractic care. And it's becoming more talked about and more seen, kind of how you were mentioning on social media. Like you can look up an adjustment and see that it is not popping and cracking your sweet little baby, right? And so more access is more knowledge. And so it's been really cool to get to be a part of that and then get to see it in people's life too.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned torticollis, because the video that I had seen this week that I was like cracking up about because we were already planning on meeting, and I was like, this is gonna be perfect to talk about. So Josh Peck, the Nickelodeon star and everything, he was on a podcast and was talking about how his son had torticollis and they went to take him to a chiropractor, and he's like, I don't even believe in adult chiropractors. Why am I taking him to a kid's chiropractor? And the chiropractor basically told him to buy special bags of rice and to put them in his crib with him because his head was, I think it was like just turned to the right and he couldn't turn it towards the left. And he said to keep the bags of rice with him in his like bassinet to kind of help, and then he'll like eventually just start being able to turn his neck or whatever and stuff. But and so a ton of people in the comments, because he didn't actually address whether the baby had like the torticollis was corrected or not or anything. He didn't, but the whole point of it was that he bought this like special imported rice, I think from like Vietnam or something. Ended up just was like, okay, this is like dumb. Put the rice in the cabinet, and then like a month later there was like all these like black mites that were in his like pantry, and they had an exterminator come, and they're like, this is like a foreign thing, you should not be having this in your house. And it was coming from the rice. And so he's like, so we had all these mites and we had to like, you know, fumigate our house, like it was all this crazy stuff. But then everybody in the comments was like, okay, so like what happened though? They're like, what happened, you know?
Still have torticollis and you have mites,
literally. So everybody's like asking about it, and then so many people are like, yeah, this is why chiropractors are crap and like all this stuff, blah blah blah. And I went on there and commented and was like, oh yeah, I was like, you just had a bad chiropractor, you know what I mean? I was like, because I don't think that would help like in any sense, you know what I mean? I don't think that would be, you know, a way to fix it. And so I was like, that was just weird. But then somebody responded so ignorant. They responded with their comment, and they're like, oh, CPS is on the way to your house, like that's child abuse, all this stuff. Dear. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you literally have like no idea.
Sometimes I wonder if those people are real.
Yeah, genuinely.
I'm like, are you a robot? You have no profile photo. Yep. You like follow like 2,000 accounts and those kind of things. I'm like, who's paying you to say this? But that's a conspiracy theorist in me, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the bags of rice is hilarious. I've never heard that before, and I feel like I'm like pretty tuned in to random like different chiropractors. We do talk a lot about of just like, okay, what are they doing all the time? You know, y'all are here hopefully less than 1% of your time. Like we want to see you guys, but we don't need you here all the time, right? You have life to live and we want you to live it. So what are you doing all the time? And what are small things that we can change that could make a really big impact? You know, like, are you changing him on the changing table the same way every single day? Because maybe that's making an impact on like, we're creating these patterns, right? And especially before they move themselves, right? Like they do just what we do with them, right? So like that first like 0 to 5 or 6 months when they're starting to kind of crawl themselves, like what we're doing really, really matters, you know? So, okay, maybe let's change and flip them the opposite way on the changing table, or let's bring their head on the bassinet to the other side, you know? It doesn't have to be anything drastic. Or in the car seat, like, do they always face towards the sun? You know, like I would like to look outside. You know, like you kind of get bored, let's look at something, so let's bring their car seat to the opposite side of the car and see if we can help like impact movement and kind of encourage it there. And I've heard of people like doing different things to kind of like not block movement, but definitely not when they're asleep. And I've never heard rice. And I've never heard of imported rice. It was so crazy. Everybody's like, the chiropractor caused that person to have mites. It's always the chiropractor's fault. But he sounds like an interesting guy. So genuinely. Thankfully we don't recommend in our office any special bags of rice. I'm sure you can attest to that. And just changing like what we do on a daily basis. We don't realize how big of an impact that makes, like even as adults, you know? Like, do you carry your baby on the same hip every single time? Yes, I do. I carry all the babies in the office on the same side. And then I wonder at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, there it is. My left side hurts because I can't seem to hold a baby with my right arm to save my life. Literally. You know, so like what are we doing on a daily basis that makes an impact?
No, 100%. I think I saw that video and I just was laughing at that, and it just made me think, like, you know, my mom even had a bad experience to where she said that she had gone to a chiropractor and she was like telling them like, hey, like, please don't like crack my neck, like my neck is like really fragile, and they like disregarded it and he like completely just like cracked it. And she says that like she still has problems, and so for her and my dad, they've been going to a chiropractor now, and even for them to go where they've been going, it's been like, I mean, my mom will go and she like gets cracked and then she's like out of commission for like 2 days. And I'm kind of like, not to knock on anybody, but I'm like, I don't know if that's
Yeah.
I don't know if that's supposed to be happening, you know, like that. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, every time I've gone to you guys, I've never felt like that, you know?
Yeah,
I may be
for
like a
sure.
little sore afterwards, but it's never this thing of like, oh my gosh, I went to the chiropractor, I can't move
I'm
for 2
immobile.
days.
Yeah. I think that, like, just like with anything, there's all different kinds of dentists and medical pediatricians and PTs, and there's different chiropractors out there. And I encourage people all the time, I'm like, hey, even if it's our style of chiropractic care that like you're like, no, it's just not going to, like, it's not what I'm looking for, I don't feel like it is responding, like my body's responding well to it, like, let's find somebody that does practice in a way that's going to be like really honorable to your body. Everybody's a little bit different, and it can be different in different seasons of life too. Like if we're going through like a big autoimmune flare and everything hurts and like your system is overwhelmed, let's not like add a ton. Let's not crack everything that we can possibly pop and crack and adjust in your body. But if we're like having like joint restriction and we can't turn our neck over our right shoulder, like let's maybe do something like with a manual adjustment to help like encourage those joints in that body to move. And so finding a chiropractor and just like your health team that is going to best suit you, I think is one of the best things that we can like really do. And knowing that there's plenty of providers out there, especially if you're in the DFW area, like we have tons of awesome practitioners and providers here. Find somebody that's going to suit you. And if you're talking to your provider and you just feel like they don't hear you and they're not listening, just say, hey, like I'm feeling like I need this, like be really honest. Do you know anybody in your field that really is like specializes in XYZ, like specializes in women's health specifically, or specializes in like, I think I have just like a different pain tolerance and your body responds differently, like can you help me find somebody like that? Guarantee they're going to, well, they should. For the most part, they're going to recommend you to somebody like a colleague that they think would serve you really, really well. And then you can surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that actually listen, which is just like the biggest thing ever. Like goodness. And then people who will like provide care specific to you, because everybody is so different, you know? And so we hear that all the time with like, my provider didn't listen. I'm going to go to a new provider. Or communicate and just say, hey, like, did you hear me?
No, literally.
When I said that makes me uncomfortable. Like, why did you do it? Can I have more information? Because they might have a reason, but they should be able to back it up.
And I think that's why in this day and age, it's so important. And especially, you know, one of the reasons why I even wanted to start this podcast is that I felt while I was pregnant, like there's so much I was like trying to research and figure out. And then I felt like there was so much that my doctors weren't telling me. So much that the midwives that I was working with at the beginning of my pregnancy, that they weren't really helping me with or hearing me out on or different things. And so I feel like we're in this age for women specifically of really starting to advocate for ourselves, really starting to voice, hey, you know what, I'm kind of wondering about this, or hey, what about this, or can we try this? And I really think that it's important. And I think that that's one of the greatest things that we could do, is being able to advocate for ourselves.
Absolutely.
But I think sometimes people kind of fall under pressure, like, oh, I'm already here, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to like switch or to do different things. But I really love even how at your office that one of the first things you guys do is run tests. Because again, you know, there could be, you know, you could be focusing on my neck, but it's like my hip that I really need focused on. You know what I mean? So it's just so, and not that it's a bad thing to just come in and get adjusted, but I think that it's really key to being able to come in and focus on specific needs for specific people, you know? And I think that just like in all areas of life, it's not a one size fits all. And so you can't just come in and just crack everything in your body and be like, okay, you're good to go. You know what I mean? And so I think, I just think that that's amazing. And I think that, you know, what you guys do is just awesome. And especially in this day and age, like I said before, like I didn't even know I could come in and get adjusted, you know, as a pregnant woman. And it's funny too, even before you came, my dad texted me and he sent me a photo, which I think is one of the same ones that you guys have in your office, where it's like, like chiropractic care during pregnancy, and it shows like all the benefits on the sides and stuff. My dad was like, yeah, he's like, this would be great. He's like, you know, it's okay for you to come get adjusted pregnant. And I'm like, Dad, you know, I've been getting adjusted since I was pregnant with Bub. And he was like, oh, okay, that's good. Like, and like we've had these conversations and we've talked about it, and you know, my dad, I love him, but I'm just like, it's one of those things that like now that he's going to the chiropractor, now he's like all invested and looking into all the stuff, and he's like, oh, everybody should come get adjusted. And I'm like, Dad, I've been going for like 2 years. Like,
it kind of like opens like their mind to it a little bit more. Like you can say it all the time. Like you've probably told him countless times, whether in passing, I go to a chiropractor, or I think you should go to a chiropractor. But it's really like once you start to have that like experience, and that door kind of opens, your mind really starts to open up to it as well. And so everybody has to have their own experience with that. I remind myself of that all the time, because you're like, okay, I'm just gonna let you have your experience, and then we can talk about it later.
Literally. So back to your specialty in the Webster technique. Can you kind of dive into a little bit about that?
So the Webster technique was created quite a bit ago, and it was created for anybody who's like weight bearing. So anybody who's walking can receive the Webster technique, but it is really specialized for and made for pregnancy. And so you're addressing the bones, muscles, and ligaments of the pelvis, essentially. The pelvis is kind of like the foundation for the rest of the spine and the rest of like the bony skeleton, and the pelvis is very heavily impacted, which you understand, during pregnancy. And so the Webster technique is looking at like the sacrum and the pelvis. It's also looking like at all the musculature that kind of surrounds it, and then the ligaments that have to be able to open up to allow that pelvis to expand during pregnancy. And so it is a like extra certification and course that you can get as a chiropractor. And was one of the things that helped like really open my eyes to how impactful prenatal care is during pregnancy. Like just being in the room with all those chiropractors as we learned that, and then the instructors being able to like talk us through the amazing impacts that they've seen like in their career through using the Webster technique. And so we use it on all the pregnant women in our office. We occasionally use it on somebody who isn't pregnant if we kind of feel like it could be something that is beneficial to them. We actually have some people that request it that are not pregnant, because it has been really impactful for them. But we feel like it is the thing during pregnancy, at least the foundation and the starting point, and then we can kind of add things on top of that just to help with like, number one, like let's make sure we're aligned, you know, and then also let's make sure that the pelvis is able to open up and expand as it's going to need to for baby to be able to like grow with you, and then to give baby the best positioning and like in the womb and in your utero. If we have like a really misaligned pelvis, it kind of causes everything else like the uterus to kind of tilt and change, so baby can't get in positioning that they need to. And then also just like comfortability, right? It's a huge thing, right? We need them to be able to be in the right position just for mom's comfort. And then the idea is that it can help just make sure that body is prepped for labor, right? There's a lot of things that we can do outside of chiropractic care, but that's one of the things that we can do through chiropractic care, is just make sure your body's nice and prepared and aligned, so the pelvis can and the cervix can dilate the way that it needs to. So.
No, I love that. It's so funny. I can't tell you how many times that I'll like start waddling into the office beforehand. My husband sees me and then I come out and I'm walking like normal, and he's like, wow, that's like a big difference. I'm like, yeah, you're telling me, you know,
and like, I feel it too.
Yeah, literally. I'm telling you, my left side, always like in that lower back area, it's always bugging me. It bugged me when I was pregnant with him, started bugging me early with this one. So I'm just like, oh man, but no, very, very grateful for it. So yeah, very grateful for what you guys do, because I know that personally it has definitely affected me and my family. And I mean, even from beforehand when we were worried about RJ and whether he had that like tongue and lip tie too, like I fully believe that when we took him to go see the dentist was like, oh, he doesn't have it, he's good, you know, he's gaining weight, he's doing all this stuff, you know. And with him being born early, you know, we were worried about his weight gain and just him trying to latch and all the things. And so when when the dentist was like, no, he's looking good, I was like, praise God. And I was like, I fully believe it was from, you know, coming to you guys. And thankfully, like, we didn't have to do surgery for him.
Right.
And, you know, I know that some people like have to, and some people, you know, like they really like need to get the surgery for their babies and stuff. Absolutely. But I was just like, if we can avoid a surgery for this kid, like, please, like, this kid has already been through like, enough, being born early. Yeah. We added like so many things to it. And even when he started having reflux, that started to really help, because we were able to get him adjusted and stuff too. And so it's just wild to me how just the smallest adjustments can make such a big difference.
It's typically the small things, which is so hard to understand, because we're so used to feeling like we have to take like really drastic measures to see change and improvement. We already have enough noise and enough stuff going on that typically like adding something big and like really like forceful or something like that, it might not be the best. Especially for things like reflux and that for babies, is we need it to be nice and gentle and specific. And get in and get out, right? And then let their body do the rest. Their bodies know, our bodies were given the like God-given ability to heal and to function, and it's just finding what like we can do to get everybody's body to their 100%, you know? Like, we might have a tip or a lip and a tongue tie, but can we function with the lip and the tongue tie? Like, what can we do to get function up so that then it's just a decision on, like, aesthetics or something of that nature. But we need baby to be able to gain weight. We need baby to be able to use their tongue and their lip and their jaw. If they can, then, like, that's our thing. Like, we don't need that tie to go away. We just need them to be able to function with it, you know? So.
No, I think that's amazing. Let me just double check that. Sometimes my like laptop will just randomly like stop. So I'm like looking over, I'm like making sure that it's like still going.
You're like,
because that happened during one episode that we did, and I literally thought that we lost like all the audio, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, no.
That would be so unfortunate.
Thankfully it was working.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so I did want to obviously transition a little bit. I know that you work with moms. You work with pregnant moms, postpartum. You work with babies, all kinds, you know. And even your partner, Dr. Hannah, has her baby now and stuff. And he just turned a year as well. And so it's so crazy. Like, I see her, and I remember her and I talking when we were both pregnant and stuff. And so just to see where she's at now, I think it's amazing. But I know that you've been having kind of your own journey.
Totally.
And different things. So if you wanted to just kind of share a little bit about that.
For sure. So in February of this year, my husband and I found out we were pregnant. We were very excited, but very surprised. I know what it takes to bring a baby into the world. I'm not, I'm not like, what? How could this have ever happened? But I've been like following my cycle pretty closely, just like natural family planning purposes. And I'm always just interested in it too. Like, I'm kind of a nerd about it. I'm like, ooh, this is fun. And just to track it. So I've been tracking my cycle pretty closely and was pretty surprised to get a positive pregnancy test. But I was like, what a miracle. You know, like, thank you, Lord. Not my timing, but his. And so I was like, I'll take it. What a blessing. So found out we were pregnant in February. And then we were about 4 weeks when we found out, and we went in for an ultrasound with Callie, who's in our office. She's amazing with the ultrasound concierge. She's the best. I always like to shout her out anytime I can. But she did a scan and just said, hey, like, I think that we're not quite as far along as we thought we were. And I remember thinking, like, do I worry? You know, like, that feels wrong. But I obviously, like, with tracking, like, there was already some, like, kind of question marks for me. I was like, you know what? I'm not 100% sure of, like, exact ovulation and conception. Like, I'll just let it go. So we went back later, and there was a sac, but there's no heartbeat.
Okay.
And so I had never heard of that. My HCG levels were rising. My progesterone was high. The gestational sac was getting larger. But it's called a blighted ovum. And so some people call it a blighted ovum. That's like the medical term. And then it's also called like a miscarriage in some situations. And so we were about 7.5 weeks at that point, or what we thought we were. And so through that, we were getting care with midwives. And we were just kind of given a few options of like, hey, how do you want to proceed? And I'm always trying to choose the holistic option and just like what is honoring to my body and like my body's ability to heal. So gave it a little bit of time just to see if my body would pass it, but I was sick. I was really sick with it. My HCG was really rapidly rising, which is amazing in most normal pregnancies, but caused me to be really, really nauseous. And so I was still feeling all my pregnancy symptoms, just like knowing that there was no baby, and just realized that was a like in between that I sat in for like 2.5 weeks and wanted to like, in my head I was like, I can be strong and get through this, and realized that there was really no strength in putting myself through something that like was, I don't want to say not needed, but like I could try, there were other solutions potentially, and so I ended up having a DNC, and that DNC was not successful. I was fairly unaware that was even a possibility, but of course there is, and they have you sign the paperwork before your procedure and all of that. And so I waited 2 weeks. I knew in my gut that something was wrong. Like, it's amazing, like kind of your intuition is, you know, something's wrong. I knew it when I got my pregnancy test. I knew something was off, and I knew it after the surgery too. So I went to Callie. I just gave her a call. I said, hey, something's wrong, I think. Can you just go check me? Can we just get an ultrasound and see what's going on? And my initial like gestational sac was 18 millimeters. And the amount of gestational sac that I had left after my DNC was 17.8 millimeters.
Oh my gosh.
So it was the same size. They didn't get anything.
Oh wow.
And so I was still bleeding. And at that point you really have the option of like, do you take medication or do you go back and have like a secondary DNC? And I didn't want to go back to my OB that I had just for the surgery. He wasn't my like primary provider. But in the state of Texas, you have to have a post-op appointment to be cleared medically in order to be seen by somebody else. And so I was going to have to get that post-op appointment and then go find somebody else. And this was in March. No. Yeah, this was in March. And I was calling providers and they weren't going to be able to get me in until July.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I called everybody I could think of. Like, I asked everybody I knew, like, who'd you use? Like, do you have a connection? I'm blessed in the sense that I have quite a few people that I am able to talk to and ask. And everybody I called was the same answer, July, August. And I was like, this is a medical emergency. Like, I could have an infection. Like, this could be really serious. Like, is this the best that we can do for women's health care? Is that you're going to tell me and look me in the face and say that you cannot see me for 6 or 7 months?
Oh, gosh.
And so I ended up just saying, you know what, like, let's just get this over with. Let's try the medication. It has an 85% success rate or something like that. And took the medication, which is a week process. I actually took off from work. And because I was prepared for the worst. Like, I had women, thankfully, give me counsel, but just like, hey, give your body some grace. Like, this is going to be really hard. And I never had a single contraction.
Oh, wow.
Which is what you're supposed to have, or cramp, to pass the pregnancy. And so I ended up having to have a secondary DNC, which is never what you want. Because just like looking at the statistics and like, once again, my nerd brain is like, there's got to be some impact on the body, you know, like, I've never been under general anesthesia. Going in twice under 2 months is like, that's a lot. So I had my secondary DNC and didn't bleed a single bit after that, which I did not realize that is good, because that's just like what I had experienced was like, that it was really hard recovery wise the first time. So that was our first loss, and really wasn't recovered until May. So at my final appointment, I was 14 and a half weeks pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was pregnant for 7 weeks without, like, with knowing that I wasn't growing a baby.
Yeah.
And so it was, like, every bit of it. It was just really hard, like, physically and emotionally, you know? And you always think, like, surely not me. You know, if we're just being honest, like, you see, and, like, my, like, business partner, Hannah, she had a loss the year before, and, like, I saw her go through it, and then I thought to myself, like, I'll do anything I possibly can to prepare like, what can you do? Like, what can you do? I want to do that to be able to avoid it, because it's so hard. And so I felt like my body and my mind were prepared for pregnancy. And so that was also hard, of just being like, it's out of your control. And really realizing in that as like somebody who white knuckles life of like, I don't know, I can control this one. Like, if I just take my vitamins and I go to the gym, like, I'll be healthy enough that I can avoid this. And so that was really hard, just realizing that, like, it really isn't in your control, and this happens. And obviously I'd never blamed anybody before that and been like, you didn't do it, you could. Like, but you just think, oh, surely I'll be able to prepare myself enough. So we had our first loss. We were due in October, October 24th. And thankfully this is November that we're talking about this. And so we made it through that month. And then we decided we were ready to try again in June. And found out we were pregnant in July, and then had a chemical pregnancy in July. So I've had 2 losses, which I thought I had learned a lot about grief after one. Which you do. And then after your second, you start to wonder, you know, like, is there something wrong with me? One, you can kind of be like, there's surely nothing wrong. You know, like, I'm healthy, like, all of the different things that you go through in your mind. And then the second you start to think, you know, one, after you have one, your worst fear is that you'll have 2. You know, or that you'll have another. And so facing that reality was really hard. I always foresaw that we would be pregnant by our due date. That's just like a mental, I was like, we'll be pregnant by that point. And so as October grew closer and I realized that we wouldn't, that was kind of like facing my biggest fear. And I think one of the things that, like, through this process, I used to pray really differently. I would pray, Lord, please give me a healthy baby and a healthy pregnancy. And, like, obviously that is a fair prayer, and I will still pray that. But I started to pray for peace if his plan was different than mine. And pray for strength if, like, what I fear is the reality, you know? And pray for people to stand in that gap for us and be believing and hopeful when I don't feel hopeful. And so thankfully that month that I thought was going to be like the worst month and worst day, October 24th, which was the worst day ever, I had the stomach bug, which was a cruel reality, but I was distracted, to say the least. But, like, the Lord was, like, brought me that peace and brought us, like, people around us to stand with us and stand in that gap and be believing with us. And so it's been a long year, a long 10 months for sure.
I can imagine.
So
well, one, I just want to commend you for even just having the courage to share your story, because I know that it is not easy to talk about the hard things and to talk about, you know, these dreams and these, you know, just the emotions and just trying to even, like, kind of relive that, you know. So one, I'm very grateful that you are able to sit here and share this with us, you know. And I, you know, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank
you.
know? Yeah, I appreciate
that. Of course,
that.
because I can't imagine, You know, I can't imagine. And I know that there are probably a lot of women who can relate, you know, to similar situations and stuff like that. And that's why I think that like being able to share your story is important, and obviously being careful with it and, you know, being sensitive to these things as well. But I also know, and I've seen so many different women who are kind of in the same boat, where it's kind of this thing of, well, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And some people like you are some of the most healthiest people, and they still go through these things. And sometimes it's, you know, a situation where you obviously don't have control over it. You don't know what the cause is. You don't know what could be. And, you know, it's so easy for people to try to find something or someone to blame. And I have seen a lot of people turn, and their first thing is, well, why did God do this to me? Or why is this happening to me? And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know the reason. But in knowing the God that I serve, I know that he didn't purposely come in and do that to you. You know what I mean? He's not coming in and tease you for this desire of your heart, for you to have a family, for all these different things, to come in and dangle this above your head. That's not who he is, you know? And that's one of the things that we have to be reminded of. We live in a fallen world. We live in, you know, in the state, and like things happen. We're not, even as Christians, we're not immune to the hard things, you know? But I do know, and even in situations that we've gone through, you know, with me and my husband, we serve in full-time ministry, my husband's worship pastor, you know, all these things. There are hard things that we go through. And the one thing that I can know for sure is that the Lord has never left us. That he has never abandoned us. That even in these hard things, that he's been through them with us, that he's sitting in there with us. You know, we're joining in the, you know, in his suffering. And I know for a fact that it grieves him and it hurts him when he sees us going through things too. And there are some things that I know that I feel like the Lord like draws us in closer to him. Now, again, it's not this thing that you have to walk through some of the worst things in your life to be drawn close to the Lord. But I do know that when these things do happen, he brings us closer. And so, so I always know that like when hard things come, that it's just a time to draw in closer to him, and to lean in on him, and to find the comfort in him. And it's just a crazy thing where, you know, situations happen and we want to, you know, in our logic, and, you know, I'm kind of the same way of trying to like plan things and kind of be in control of certain things. And, you know,
just want to know why.
And you want to have like a timeline and kind of be, you know, okay, so if I do this now, we can do this, we can, you know, this, that, and the other. And so in a situation like this where, you know, you don't have the control over it, or you don't have the full reason why, it's just kind of hard to kind of even just sit with that.
I think that was one of like my biggest like hurdles in the beginning is you like people try to console, and it's with good intentions that people say like, well, this is in God's plan. And it's like, yeah, for sure. However, why? You know, you're like, well, you're telling me that this isn't God's plan, but like, why am I going through it? And other people don't have to go through it. I don't want them to have to go through it, but that also doesn't mean that, like, what got me here? You know, it's kind of, and then you can get in like a shame and like a guilt spiral. And so that was like really like heavy on my mind of just like, why would this happen? And I think like shifting my thought process of like, why would this happen to me, to like, the Lord knows my suffering like very deeply. And he isn't happy that I have to go through it, but it said like many a times in the Bible that like his people and his followers will go through trials and tribulations and persecution. And so why am I thinking that I'm going to be immune to that? Right? I don't want, I would like to not sign up and not subscribe to the trials and tribulations and persecution if I could avoid that. But like, who am I to think that I'm going to get to opt out of that one on my subscribe button, you know? And so like it's said over and over that. And then also like God lost and like gave his son And so I really leaned into that of like, but I kept thinking like, but you don't know how this feels. And then one day I just felt like the Lord was like, yes, I do. Yeah. Like I gave my child. Like that's how I felt, is like I gave up. My child was taken away from me. Yeah. Obviously I didn't get to know them and like know who they are or anything like that. But that was like helped me feel more seen and known by God. And that he knows my suffering and he understands how, like, not just like how I feel, but he understands the complexities of it, of my grief. And then also like shifting to, I try not to call him like on the positive side, because there's no positive side of loss, particularly. Like, let's just call it what it is. It's like, it sucks. Yeah. Right. And that has been helpful for me to be able to say, instead of people saying I'm sorry and me saying it's okay, when internally it's just not okay. Yeah. It's just to say, yeah, thank you. And it does suck. I appreciate that. Yeah. But then looking at the glimmers, you know, like my relationship with the Lord is much stronger. Yeah. Right. And so I am not particularly happy with what we had to go through to get there, but I am going to call it what it is, and that I know him much deeper than I have ever known him before, and there's so much beauty in that. And then there's so many other like small little ties of just like the Lord's goodness and his faithfulness through it. Yeah. Right. And so being able to get to the point to be able to see that has really been life-changing, of like, I'm going to hold in one hand the fact that this is not what I would wish on anybody, and I wish I wasn't going through it, but then also on the other hand I can hold this like hope and being able to see like the Lord's faithfulness through it. Yeah. So
no, definitely. I think that's beautiful, because I know that even for many couples, there's the statistic that once they go through loss and stuff, it kind of tears them apart too. And I think that, you know, drawing closer to the Lord and drawing close with your husband, you know, because it's like you guys are going through this together, and it breaks my heart when that happens, but I think that's also why it's important in who you marry. Oh, you know. And that's always one of the biggest things that I tell young adults, like when we have young adults that come to us for dating advice or different things, and I'm like, it's so important, like, honestly, I was like, if I could give you any advice, I would be like, you know, don't worry about whether you have chemistry together, you know what I mean, because that like comes and goes, you know what I mean, there's like one day, you know, and I love my husband, you know, and but like we joke and stuff that I'm like, you know, sometimes you make me just want to kick you, you know what I mean? And it's not anything bad, but it's just like, you know, we're playful with each other like that. But I also think that I always try to tell young adults that, like, find somebody who's like strong and consistent in who they are. Like they don't have to be perfect. No, because I guarantee you, my husband today is not the man that I met. He's not the man that I married. Totally. He's grown, he's changed, he's all these different things, but I do know that when we're in the trenches, he's right by my side. Totally. And we're in the trenches, he's right there praying with me. He's fighting with me. He's not fighting against me. And I think that those things are so important. And so it's this thing of like, you know, some people are even worried about like, oh, do we mesh? Is our romantic life going to be great, or this and that and stuff? And it's like, you're not even focused on the right thing, you know? I would think back to when I was with my ex before this, and when we were in the hospital with Bub when he was first born, because he was 5 weeks early, my mom even sat there and she kind of just looked at me and she kind of started crying, and she's like, could you imagine, she's like, if we were here and this was like you and your ex? I was like, I would have been in this hospital by myself, because my ex was not a good guy, you know what I mean? And so I'm just like so thankful for my husband and who he is, because the Lord gave me the person that I needed to be there in that moment with me. And so I think that it's completely important of who you have standing by your side, because you're going to have the highs, you're going to have the lows, you're going to have, you know, the hard things in between, and it needs to be these things that bring you closer together, not tear you apart. Yeah. For sure. I kind of get like a little bit emotional, because I mean, the people that you love the most see you like at your worst. Yeah. And that was like a big realization moment for me through all of it, is like, I am so thankful for this person, that he like sees me. I hold it together all day. I see moms all day. 9 to 6,
I'm okay. And then when he gets home, like, he's my safe place.
Yeah.
You know, he, like, allows me to be, like, sad and grieve and angry. And then he doesn't turn around and use that as, like, a weapon, you know? And so I'm just so thankful for who he is. And then also, like, who he, like, was, like, came to be. You know, like, you don't know, like, who you will become through that.
Yeah.
And you don't ever foresee that but then, like, through it, he grew. You know, through it, we grew. And my mom, she was like, I mean, I'm just so thankful that you have him. You know, I'm thankful that, like, he's right there with you and that he's supporting you and he's your safe place and that, like, y'all are growing closer to the Lord together, but then, like, closer together.
Yeah.
And so I remembered seeing something about, like, loss, like, how it can really tear a marriage apart. And I can see it for sure. Like, I have no shade or anything towards people that have felt that in their marriage, because I think that's very real.
Yeah.
But I remember just thinking, like, I am so grateful for the man that I married, because I didn't feel further apart from him. That is like, for sure. Through all of it. And of course, are there moments where you're sitting there thinking, like, my body is the one that went through this, you know?
Yeah.
And I know and because he told me, like, there's moments that he sat there and thought, like, I wish I could take this away.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could be right there and just, like, shoulder the burden. And so there's differences in grief too. And I am thankful to know that and know that he would experience this loss differently than me. Not because he doesn't care and not because he wasn't grieving, but because, like, I needed him differently, and he had to show up differently through it than I did. And then I got to be with him on the other side, you know, of like, hey, you shouldered this burden for 6 months while I was grieving and going through, still being pregnant. And now, like, now I'm here for you, you know, like, now I'm here for all the things that you had to carry for the time being to, like, get me through this. And, like, now you need to be able to process this grief. You need to be able to experience this loss too. So it is heavy and something that's hard, but something that I would encourage people to know that you can grow together through, and to find the right people to talk to about it outside of your spouse. And to have the correct expectations for what people will be able to provide you through it. They're not going to take it away. And that was big for me to be like, what am I expecting from people out of this conversation? You know, like, what do I really want? Do I want my babies back? They're not going to provide that. So maybe let's stop going into conversation expecting for people to make me feel like I'm okay, because obviously I'm not okay right now, and that's fine. Let's just go in and say, hey, I need you to listen. You know, I need you to tell me if I'm handling this situation okay. Like, those kind of things versus being like, make me feel better, because the only one that can do that is God.
I think it's
to not ask my husband to do that too.
No,
he's
definitely.
like, girl, I'm doing enough. So
no, and I think that's why, you know, I heard somebody before we got married that was like, oh yeah, marriage is supposed to be 50-50, and our worship pastor beforehand, she was like, marriage sometimes is going to be 80-20, like, sometimes it's going to be 100-0, like, there's going to be ebbs and flows with it, and you need to be able to, like, to have that balance, and to be able to have that, like, with your spouse. Like, with this pregnancy, Ryan has stepped up so much, even with stuff with Bub, because there's like so many things I couldn't do. First trimester, I'm like, I can't even get out of bed, let alone have to cook and clean and take care of the baby while working on top of that and trying to do all these things. So I've really had to lean on him. And so that's why I think like even in your situation, it's so beautiful that it's like your husband has given you time to grieve in your own way and to handle things your way. And now it's kind of, you know, now that you're gaining some strength back too, it's like, okay, now I can help you too. Now let's talk about this. Let's process some of this stuff together, you know? And so I think sometimes we even forget too that for our husbands, it's like, yeah, my husband's not carrying this baby, but this is affecting him as well.
Oh, totally.
Because again, he chose to marry me. He chose to walk through this with me. And so there is a whole side of it that he's trying to process and trying to comprehend and stuff too. My husband never even was hardly around babies until we got together. You know what I mean? So to even be, you know, in the situation with me and the stuff that we went through at the hospital and the stuff with just all the different things, and to see me in such a state too, where, you know, I was 35 hours of labor, no dilation, nothing, having to get an epidural, start, you know, talking all loony because I'm on drugs and stuff. You know what I mean? Like all these like different things.
He's through it, but he's also seeing it too. He's like, that is a person that I love. Yeah. You know, and like seeing somebody that you love go through something super hard is hard. Yeah. It is hard. I remember watching like Hannah go through it and just thinking like, I'm never going to tell her in the moment that this is hard to witness and be like supportive for, but like she is one of my closest people. I hate that you're going through this and I love you, and I wish that people like even me could take this away. Imagine that with your spouse. You know, like he is experiencing it not the same way, but in the closest way that they can too, and they deserve their ability to process it and like be supported through it too, even if it's not like their body. It is their person through like love and marriage and the covenant that they've made. Literally 100%. We have a segment on here where we call it Real Talk, where we talk about a reel, you know, and all that and stuff. And so the reel that we had, so for the viewers at home, I will play it for you.
And I'd give up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you'd feel me somehow. You're the closest heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't wanna go home right now.
Okay, so for the viewers at home, this was basically one where they were talking about how, you know, this mom had, I believe she had a stillbirth. And she was talking about kind of how people were supporting her during like that journey. And I think I always feel so bad in the sense of like, I feel like people who haven't gone through something hard or like a similar situation, they don't know how to like comfort, but they're trying to like give condolences, try to be like, hey, you know, I'm sorry for this, and you know, and those different things. And I think just even seeing this video and seeing the kind of things that were said to this mom that kind of helped her. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a different way to like comfort people, because I think in some instances people are uncomfortable with it themselves, which, you know, in some part it's not in a sense a bad thing, but it's also this thing of like, you're uncomfortable, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm the one who's gone through this stuff, you know what I mean, type thing. And so I think just some of the things that she put that people were saying to her was even, you know, just asking her about her baby, acknowledging that her baby existed, you know what I mean, I think is such a beautiful thing. And I know that there are, again, like I feel like some people just don't know how to comfort people. So I think I feel in my thing for wanting to have this like be a video that you talked about, what are some of the things that you would say has like really helped you? I'm going to say first, I'm the world's worst comforter with words. The Lord did not give me that innate gift. So if anybody's listening and thinking, oh my gosh, I would not know what to say, I also did not know what to say. And I feel like I've said the wrong things for sure to people around me. And so just know that like there's grace there. Like you don't always know exactly what to say, but being curious and addressing it is a great start.
And instead of like ignoring it, I feel like that's a really common way to just like try to support people that are going through loss, is to not bring it up because they don't want to make you sad. We're sad.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to make me more sad for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, by bringing it up. At least if you accidentally make a comment that maybe isn't the best and you think about it later and you're like, I wish I wouldn't have said that. At least the person is knowing that you are acknowledging what you're going through, you know? And so that's, at least in my personal opinion, like bringing it up is a really great start. And not ignoring it and just like trying to be like, well, what's good going on? It's like, I don't know, girl. Like, my whole world is this right now, kind of thing. So that's the first like small disclaimer. I feel like people asking instead of like, what can I do to help you? Just saying like, hey, we're going to be out and about already. Because then the person isn't feeling like you're inconveniencing them. I don't want to inconvenience people. I'm going to be out and about already. Can I drop off either dinner or dessert? That's amazing. Because you're not feeling like you're inconveniencing people. And you give them an option. You know, of like, what's helpful. And then also, my favorite thing is like, hey, I want to be here to support you. What can I do to, is there anything that feels supportive right now? I'm open, like I'm willing, I want to be here for you. And just like asking that question, I feel like it's kind of being vulnerable on the other side of like, I don't know exactly what to say or exactly what to do, but I'm willing and able is such a great place to start. And even saying that like, hey, I know that I don't have the words or the actions to be able to like make this better per se, and to say that I know exactly what you're going through, because I don't. But I'm here for you, and like, tell me how I can like be there for you. And being honest and like vulnerable in that sense, like, encourages vulnerability to from the other side. You know? Instead of just saying like, I can never imagine that. It's like, yeah, that's good. I don't want you to imagine it, you know? And it's not a bad comment, but it's just like you know, like, I don't know exactly what to ask for you to support me, but I appreciate that you're there. And then people asking of just like, how was your pregnancy? Or, you know, acknowledging that it happened is so big. And like my best friend, she, like I mentioned, I had the stomach bug on our due date. But she just dropped by like a couple of goodies on my porch. No, like, need to talk. No explanation. No direct reference of like, I know today was your baby's due date. But just like remembering that, you know? So, just the not having to explain to somebody like why you're sad. You know? It's just like, I understand. I don't need you to explain it. You don't have to bring it up for like, you don't have to talk about it, but like, I'm here. I know that you're sad because of this, and like, that's enough. So.
No, I think that's amazing. I think it's I think it goes back to, and we had an episode about this, about being the village in all seasons.
Totally.
And you know, it's a thing of being able to just be there for each other. And you know, through the hard. And it's a thing of not being not just being decent people, you know what I mean? Because some people are like, oh, we need to get back to human decency, and it like, that's part of it, but I believe that it's part of just being the body of Christ.
Totally.
Too, of just taking care of one another in that. You know, and I think it's hard too. I've been in the boat of, you know, people are like, well, what can I do for you? And sometimes it's like, I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. And sometimes there are people who like don't ask like, hey, can I do something for you or whatever. They just come and they're like, hey, I know this is your favorite snack, I'm gonna bring it for you. And like you said, your friend brought you goodies and stuff. And I think that just recognizing that like just those little things that people do makes such a big difference. Such a big difference.
Yeah. And talking about it, you know, like when you're having a hard time, like not ignoring the fact that you were in the hospital for a while with your first, like, hey, how are you doing mentally preparing for like as we're coming up on like your due date? Just like remembering that.
Yeah.
And the little things, you know? And so I've been on the side of not knowing what to do to help for sure.
Yeah.
But I've also been on the side of not knowing what to do, like to say that is helpful. And I think just acknowledgement feels so good, you know, because you don't feel like one thing in grief that I've noticed is that you start to feel a little crazy. You know, you're like, you see somebody's that you don't even talk to, they're pregnant, and you're like, man. And you just start to feel all the emotions of like, wow, I wish I got to experience like I'll never experience pregnancy that like so naive and just like hopeful again, and just like such a beautiful way. And I'm so pumped that they do. Like that's amazing. But somebody kind of just acknowledging that, like, hey, and being like holding space for that, like letting you say it without being like, oh, girl, are you okay? And just like saying, hey, like I think that's totally okay. Like you're allowed to have complex feelings about grief. You're not crazy. Like it's okay to be sad when you see somebody post a pregnancy announcement. It's okay to be sad when you see like people that were due around you have their babies. Like that's okay. And just acknowledging it, you're allowed to have those feelings, and I'm here for them. And you're not going to scare me away.
100%.
You know? And then it's like, oh, okay. Maybe I'm not. And that feeling like I feel better just because I feel reassured. You know?
Definitely.
So.
Yeah. I saw a mom recently, this influencer, and she's like real big into fashion, and she's had several miscarriages, and they finally announced that they're having a baby. And she put a post right after she did the pregnancy announcement, and she goes, I know what it's like to be in the shoes of those who are still waiting. And she's like, so I post my post with as much excitement, but also understanding that there are probably women who have been in my shoes and are still in my shoes in that. And she's like, so I acknowledge that, and you know, I'm praying for you, and just know that like you're seen, and just know, you know, that your time is going to come as well, and we're believing for you. And I think it was just a beautiful thing that just being able to acknowledge that. And on the reverse side, there have been people who've been kind of like, oh, well, don't try to take away their joy or their moment or whatever. But it's like, no, people can still have their feelings. It can still be hard for them to see, you know, those things and those dreams and those desires come through for somebody else. That doesn't mean that you're not excited for them. But it also just kind of, it's that thing of, well, you know, I kind of wish that I could have that too. And like you said, it's okay to be in that space for it, because, you know, it's where you're at, and there's nothing wrong with it, you know. And I think that a lot of women who go through certain things, you know, not saying that everybody has to, you know, start a podcast about, you know, their journeys and different things, but I also think that there are still a lot of people who, you know, it's hard for them to talk about certain things. One, because it's just hard in general, but two, because they're kind of, you know, they want to like move past things, or they want to get over it, or, you know, and again, it's not this thing of, it's okay to be in a place of still feeling, still grieving. And it's also okay to be in a place of like, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with where I'm at, but, you know, I want to move forward. But, and whatever stage somebody's in, I think that it's a beautiful thing to be. And it's, you know, you're allowed to be in that space, you know. And so I think for women, whether they are in a place to want to talk about their journey, or whether they're not, or whether they're upset, or whether they're, you know, they're going through it like currently, like I think wherever you are in your journey, it's okay to be there.
Totally. Yeah. I think that talking about it is something that everybody recommends you do. They're like, you should share. And sharing has like changed my life, honestly. And talking about it freely is the best. And so I'm just encouraging anybody who like feels like, oh, but I'm the kind of person that likes to kind of tuck things in and those kind of things. That's totally valid. And like, I hear you, I see you. If it's fresh, like, do what you need to do. But the more you speak about it, the less like it's held me prisoner.
Yeah.
And the words can freely flow at this point. Like, I could almost not even say that I had a miscarriage after we had it. And my husband literally was like, but this isn't a miscarriage, right? And I was like, unfortunately it is. Because you just like, it just feels crazy to say, like, no way. Like, we're not going through this. And the more I've spoken about it, the more I've realized, the less it's held me captive, for sure, of just like the thoughts that I have and realizing that I'm not alone in it. And the more I feel like I've been able to like see glimmers through it, the more I've talked about it. Because then, like, even in the office, I mean, I cannot even tell you how many times I've said, like, opened up. We shared an email just because I felt like I was lying to people. Because I'd be in the office and, you know, how are you? Good. How are you? Pretty good.
Yeah.
You never want to say, like, I'm really bad
in
your place of business. You know, like, I'm still here for other people. It's not my place to, like, just be like, solve all my problems, you know, when you're coming to see me because you have things going on. But I felt like I was kind of like lying, you know, and not sharing with people that like potentially have gone through it themselves. And the amount of women who have had loss is staggering. It is all around you and all around it. It's everywhere. And that's tragic and sad. And I wish that obviously that weren't the case, but people have felt less alone because they're like, oh my goodness, like, I didn't know that you went through one too. Like, you seem fairly healthy. Like, I felt guilty because I felt like I had done the wrong things, but like, I know that you try to eat healthy and do stuff like that too, and you went through it. So they just feel less alone. And the more that we can get into that position of like women feeling less alone and less of like a shame of like, I've done something wrong, I think the better. And then it's just like less about like less me, you know, like less me and more us, if that makes sense. To help like get out of yourself a little bit, if that makes sense, because it's definitely isolating if you just let your mind wander down those thoughts.
Well, that's why I believe too that, you know, like the Bible says, like, we overcome by the power of our testimony. And it really is like an amazing thing to see the strength and to see people, you know, in all stages of where they're at with, you know, their grief or their journey. And, you know, it's beautiful to see too people who have come out on the other side of that too, of knowing that like, okay, there is like light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, I may never, you know, it may be this thing that, you know, it's never. And I know that there are other women who have gone through loss and they get pregnant, and it's like that, like you were saying earlier, of the like kind of being naive in a sense of like the excitement, the joy of being pregnant. It may never look like that again because of this. You know what I mean? And I think that that's okay to acknowledge for some people too. And, you know, I saw a post from somebody one time where she said that she had a miscarriage, and it took me a couple times to read it because I was trying to understand what she was saying, but the nurse told her, you could have been a crackhead and this wouldn't have happened. Like that, like literally, like she could have done everything like wrong and wouldn't have been able to, everything wrong, everything right, or vice versa, or whatever. Could have been like the worst person, and this was completely out of her control. You know what I mean? Of the way that her, you know, her pregnancy and her miscarriage happened. And she was like, a bunch of people in the comments, because at first I was like, that was like a weird comment, you know? But everybody in the comments was like, this resonated with me because that told me that like I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything to cause this. And I think that just even acknowledging that can bring a bit of healing, because again, it's not on you. It's not your body. Like, your body didn't do anything wrong. Totally. You know, there are just those things, and, you know, sometimes we'll never understand why these things happen, you know, like we were saying earlier. But I think that just acknowledging that it's not your fault is a big step, and it's a big hurdle for women to come across, you know.
For sure. When we found out about it, I was sad, for sure, like our first one. And I remember the first person, and she walked up to me and she said, "It's not your fault." And I like almost like kind of recoiled, because like I hadn't gotten there yet, if that makes sense. Like I had just found out. And I remember thinking, like, of course it isn't. Yeah. And then that like starts to creep in of like, well, what if I was like too stressed? What if I like stressed too hard? You know, what if I worked too hard? What if I worked out too hard? And I saw something recently, and it was like, this isn't to discount, like, definitely there are like good practices. There's best practices for pregnancy, for sure. But you can't like out supplement a pregnancy that was never meant to be like to become and be like a full healthy pregnancy. And you can't like not do anything, if that makes sense. Like you can't over supplement yourself to a healthy pregnancy, and you can't not stress yourself out enough for a pregnancy to be full term and healthy, for a pregnancy that was not destined to be healthy, and a baby that was not destined to be on earth, if that makes sense. And I think if I would have read that right after my loss, I might not have perceived it in like the same way, you know. But being able to like have walked through that, of like those natural thoughts of like, what did I do? You know, is there anything that could have been done? And like have those moments, and then have like walk through it and get past that. Now you can see it on the other side. And so there's definitely like shame and guilt that comes up. And I think that's fairly normal. Like or common, I should say. And then I think it's you have to take big steps to end up on that other side, of realizing like, this was not my fault. Like, this is something unfortunate. It's that we live in a fallen world. I know that good will come of this, but I don't have to realize that right now. And I can be in it right now. And then one day I'll get to a side where I can look at it in a little bit of a different way. And that's great. And I thought that I had to get to a finish line. Does that make sense? Like, you see like before and after photos, like I was ready for my after photo. I was like, okay. And in like the past couple months, I realized like I will never be the same. And that's okay. I'm different, for sure. Like, I might never experience, just kind of how she was mentioning, like the same like ability to just be like immediately hopeful and immediately joyful. Like in our first pregnancy, I literally did not think for 1 second when I saw my positive test, like, what if this ends in loss? You know, like, what a gift. But I also will never be the same in the sense that like being able to conceive is a miracle. What a blessing. I think I had always thought like, what a little blessing when I see the baby, you know, and like, because I like babies and I'm like excited for moms. But I know that deeper now, of just like, what a miracle to even have the gift to be able to carry a pregnancy at all. Like my chemical pregnancy, I was pregnant for a week and I knew it, and I loved that baby that I thought I knew for every bit of that week. And like, what a blessing. And so like, I'm thankful I'm not the same. And that feels crazy to say, just because I was like, oh, look at this. Look at this girl. She doesn't have bags under her eyes the same way. Like, she doesn't know this grief. But it changes you for good, in a good way. And now I know